Empathy is a superpower until it turns on you. Today's guest told me their greatest strength is also their kryptonite. Let's talk about what happens when caring too much starts to cost you. Stay tuned for another great episode of Bad Boss Confessional. Hi, I'm Beth Fahey, and welcome to Bad Boss Confessional. I've been a leader for over 30 years, and I'll be honest, I've made plenty of mistakes along the way. The thing is, those mistakes taught me more about leadership than any success ever did. This podcast is where we get honest about the moments we'd rather forget and discover why they're the ones actually worth remembering. Each week, I talk with leaders who aren't afraid to share their worst boss moments and what they learned from them. Because here's what I know. Every great leader has a story they're not proud of, and this is where we tell those stories. Today's guest is Dominic Sergi, visionary of Clear Height Properties, a commercial real estate company focused on creating wealth and building legacies, not just for his investors, but for all of his employees. Dominic is obsessive about creating a great place to work, and I've thoroughly enjoyed watching them grow as an organization these past 8 years. Dominic, it's so great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Beth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been trying to get you on this for a little while, and I really appreciate you being here and your willingness to share your journey as a leader. And one of the things that I'm not sure that I even know, even though we've known each other for, I think, 12 years, maybe, how did you end up in commercial real estate? I actually don't think I know that.
Oh, funny. That's that's actually like it started a long time ago, and I guess my journey into real estate started with my family. My father had an electrical contracting business, and growing up, he always had an affinity to real estate. And so when that business had a really good year, which was Rex Electric, dad would go buy something, and he would go buy a piece of real estate, and he'd buy a townhouse or a small, office building. I mean, I've got pictures of me 11 years old, helping dad on the weekends, ripping out carpet and, like hanging things up on the walls, having no idea what I was doing, but it was like through osmosis watching dad do all this stuff. And I just knew dad to work and go and keep grinding. And, in high school, I was cutting grass and picking up rent checks in industrial buildings that my parents had owned. And what I knew was I did not want to be in the construction business. Like I saw that and I was like, I am not geared that way. I don't want to be in that thing. So I was doing anything I could to be out of it. But I also had this incredible affinity to it. And I got to see firsthand, and either my dad was doing it because he was cheap because he didn't want to hire a landscaper, or he was actually teaching me a life lesson. Both things could be true here, I think, in learning to actually, be with the tenants, understand what their businesses were. And it just intrigued me like so much to where in college I started working for a company called Transwestern. And I got to kind of learn the institutional side of the real estate, right? Not the side that was the entrepreneurial, where my dad would just have this incredible gut reaction to things and say, yeah, I like it, I buy it, and we'll go figure out how to operate it. When he was doing those things, there was no due diligence. There was no, underwriting. It was just pure gut. And phenomenally to this day, he's 72 today, phenomenal gut, right? He just has this incredible gut reaction to how things should be. And I've tried to pick up and emulate that. So fast forward to, I was 26 and I started Clear Height really as a way for my family to be a small investor in everything that we did going forward. And really prior to that, the family owned everything on its own. And what I knew at the time was, and when I needed to go raise equity to go buy these ugly industrial buildings that you see along the side of the highway and make them pretty unprofitable, I knew I had 20% of the money raised. I had to go figure out the 80. And why people were giving me money at 26 years old, I have no idea because I really didn't know what I was doing at the time. But now, fast forward 15 years later, and I think we know a little bit more, but we're constantly learning. And so, yeah, it started as a kid, getting into the real estate business.
That's a great story. I love to hear that. And so, because I know that you're really focused on legacies, it sounds like you're continuing to carry the family legacy forward in this business.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, right? If I looked back and started talking to my therapist, I'm sure there's a whole kinds of great things that that I've learned from my father, and I've learned not to do from my dad. And I'd say he's easily been my biggest mentor. And it's funny as I started to think about all of my bad boss stuff, right? And I definitely have some of those stories. Uh, but then I got to see it from him, right? And I was in high school and college and early 20s, learning as he was building his business, and got to see the things he did really, really well. And then the things of like, ooh, I don't want to do that. Like, and then how do I adjust and fix from there? So he's been by far, my biggest advocate, but also my biggest mentor in learning what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. So, for the things, I mean, without, putting your dad in a bad light, and, we always learn from our parents, right? We always learn from our parents and siblings. I mean, um, my sister often talks about how she watched me growing up and decided what she wasn't going to do
Right.
as a result of watching me. You know. So if there was an area of that you wanted to explore to strengthen in your own business, let's just phrase it that way, what was that area for you?
As I go back and look at the things I did and the things I guess I've created, and the team has really, really helped me create that were areas of strong suit. I can go back and like envision it like to when I was 14. And Saturday mornings, I'd get in the car with my dad, and dad would drive me up and down Main Street in downtown St. Charles. And he said, all right, go into every store, restaurant. You need to find a job, and you're going to work every Saturday and Sunday, and you got to go figure it out. And I would go into these places and I keep going and figuring it out. And as I looked back on that experience, now fast forward, till in my 40s, how profound that was in the way we onboard people, the way we actually interview people, the way we hire people and like respect people. And it goes through into our core values. It goes back into like, our whole core purpose. Because how many people told me, get the heck out of here, kid. We're not hiring. And it was just this rude experience, right? That was like, if everyone had ever gone door to door to try to find a job, it's really, 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 really hard. And finally, on the sixth time going into this restaurant, uh, the owner of the restaurant finally goes, oh, man, are you persistent? Come on in. I really want, you know what? If you're going to keep coming back every Saturday morning, I'm going to have you come in. And that was awesome, right? Like, got it, great. And that experience was like, he ended up being a pretty decent boss. His partner was a jerk, but like the two of them together was a good yin and yang. And I'm 14 on the weekends trying to figure out how to make pizzas and learning what these guys were doing. And I always thought I wanted to get in the restaurant business. Thank God I haven't. But it was really, really pivotal. And I didn't realize it was pivotal until I was probably well into my 30s. Like, where does this come from? Me wanting to make sure we onboard people with like fanfare and excitement and doing all these things. And it stems from when I was 14, which was pretty cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot now and ask you, is there any area of growth for you as a leader, or something, a place where you might have stumbled along the way that now you're like, hmm.
We stumble every day. We continue to stumble and we learn every day. Uh, every time we think we got it, yeah. And then something comes and, you know, it gives you a punch to the gut, and you try to figure out how to adjust for it. And so I think constantly learning and constantly, understanding. Um, my, I'll say this because we've learned really expanded on it and learned it as an organization, but it stemmed from me. My superpower, but also my kryptonite is my empathy. and I can be incredibly empathetic as we go through and just taking care of the whole person. It even goes back to the purpose of building wealth and creating legacies. I want to make sure, I as the visionary want to make sure that we're taking care of the whole person, that all the way down to what we do with financial education, how we have set up, using different various systems and teaching people once they get their paycheck, what do you go do with it, right? Like that has been incredibly important to me. um, but my empathy is actually what causes, probably for the first 10 years, to probably grow slower and keep people longer. And that was probably my biggest thing as a manager and as a leader was, wow, we'll give them another try and we'll do this. And we weren't having incredibly direct, candid, honest conversations. Because with me, I was afraid. I was afraid to go do this. And I was actually instructing my team to be like, well, they had a bad day and they got in a car accident and it was and well, you know what, we'll try one more time. And then a light bulb clicked on, and it could have been from one of my EOS implementers, maybe someone here on the podcast. Um, that and it just stuck with me, which was uh, like, you're stealing their lives as much as you're stealing your own. And when you have someone who is an RPRS issue, you really got to assess it. You really got to get down into it, because they know that they're failing and not meeting up to it, and you know it, but you're not talking about it. And 2, 3 years ago, we made, as an organization, a really conscious effort to go through and figure this out, be honest with one another, and not be jerks, but be really clear on our intention. And holy cow, has that opened up completely. You're seeing department heads, you're seeing people on our front lines actually have real conversations with one another when something's not working, or say, you know what, hey, I love you, but are we really doing the right thing? And that has been incredible breath fresh air. And it allows us to not politic. It allows us to move forward. And it gives everybody that ability to go do it. And so that empathy was actually holding us back. And now it's giving us incredible power, because the empathy is, we need to do this for each other. We need to make sure that all the way through, that the person that we're working alongside and the person that's their manager is being honest with one another. So that's been my biggest aha.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could take credit for that concept, but that actually came from my partner, Renee Boer, in the Great Boss Workshops. Renee said once during one of our Great Boss Workshops, and we did, I don't know, I think like 20, 25 of them together. We did a lot of them together. And he said that during a Great Boss Workshop, that when you keep somebody around for your own convenience, because really it's about your own convenience, or it's because you want to be liked and not thought of in a bad way, you're stealing their life. And I think that this is a really important concept for all the high I people that are
Right
leading and
away.
managing. Yeah, leading and managing, insane, leading and managing people, because if you're a people person, so that the high I am referring to is from disc profiling, and this is something that Dominic and I know a lot about, because our Vistage chair together was an expert in disc, and we learned a lot about that. And high I's are great. They're the life of the party. Everybody loves them. And their kryptonite is that they really care. And so sometimes framing things like, you're actually letting this person down by not having the conversation with them, is a way for somebody that's a high I to understand how important it is to address these people issues head on. Because, as like you said, if somebody's showing up to work every day and they're feeling like they're failing, that isn't leadership on our part, right? That it isn't. So I applaud you, and I do remember the session or two that we had where we were like, all right, we're gonna get real about the people that we have on the team. And some of that for you guys meant moving somebody to a different seat where they could be more successful. Doesn't mean that you have to get somebody out of the organization. It just means that you have to put them where they can excel.
It's the idea that when we're all holding each other accountable to whatever that means, right? And it really means right person, right seat. We have had the right people in the wrong seats, right? And we've moved them around or shuffled them through or given them better opportunity. And um, man, I have that with someone on our acquisitions team who has always been the right person, and he's been with us 10 years and started as a property manager, then went into leasing and went into acquisition. And it's like, he has found his holy grail, and we allowed for that to happen and worked through it. And it's been awesome to see their growth. But to the other side, where we had a team member that we've been kind of dragging along and giving the opportunity with, and they've been with us just less than a year. And then it was finally, that the department head said, okay, I got to have a serious, direct, 3-strike conversation, and we're going to go through and have the first strike. 4 days later, she resigned, right? And she knew, and she said, I can't do this job, and I know I'm failing, and and that's not right to you, and so I need to self-select out. And so when we've seen that now about a handful of times, when we're that open and that honest, again, not rude, not crude, it's just direct. That empathy actually fills my cup up more, because we've now let her go find something that's going to be really, really awesome. And then I'm proud of us and now we'll take care of it, right? We're going to do all the right things on the way out and do everything else, set her up for good. But that's been awesome for us and for myself.
Yeah, and congratulations. And we're seeing the results in making those changes. I remember when we were at one point, we pulled out the 3-year picture, and I think it was like 4 years in or something like that. And you guys were like, huh, we did it. Like, you didn't even think to look
Wow, look
back
at
and look at it, but it's
that.
and when we started, you guys were like 8 people, and now you're like close to 30 maybe, or
Yeah,
yeah.
yep,
And
yep.
it's just been marvelous to watch you grow during that time. But again, it's always people. It's always people that get you to the next place. And when you make the tough decisions that you need to around your people, releasing them to the universe in some cases, and in other cases, finding a different seat, that's when companies really take off and thrive. And it's so great to see. And yeah, so I commend you for doing that hard work, because it's not easy stuff.
Thank you, thank you. It's not been easy, but it's been fun. And here we're in our 8th year of our EOS journey. And what's interesting is we have graduated, by the way. Beth finally did give us a plaque that said we graduated. But there's so many of my friends and my colleagues that after 3 or 4 years, they stop using their implementer, and they actually go off and do it on their own. And I commend them for doing that, right? What we found as a leadership team as we continue to grow is that EOS is growing. EOS is evolving, right? It's funny because I was looking on my desk here before we started, and it's like the book Profit Works, people, process, data. There's so many EOS tools that have evolved over time or gotten better or how to be a great boss workshop. Holy cow, right? Like those things have given us, there's a 2-page playbook. Well, of course there is, right? Like there's all these little things that if we would have left the community, I think we would have lost. And what we found is in our quarterlies and in our annuals, having an outside third party, such as yourself, be there to challenge us, to call us out on our crap or the stories we're telling ourselves, that has been absolutely instrumental as how we show up as a leadership team. Because if we're doing this correctly as a leadership team, my guess is it's going to continue to fall down the rest of the organization and cascade.
And that's the one thing I'll say. I mean, just doing a commercial for you guys and how I marvel at how you continue to deepen your mastery of this process, which is a very simple process. It's not easy. And you embrace the fact that it's not easy, and you double down on trainings. Like you've sent all your people to Great Boss workshops. I've come back and retaught some of the tools to the team. You've done, you know, all kinds of things, the integrator masterclass. Like, you are really taking advantage of all the things that are out there and learning from the entire ecosystem that surrounds EOS in order to get deeper mastery, and it's showing up. Like all of that learning is evidenced in the results that you're getting. And the other thing that I just think is so neat about your team, and one of the critical factors in near success, is how coachable everybody is. And to me, that's what makes an amazing leadership team. When people have the ability to put their ego aside and say, you know what, we're going to work for the greater good of the organization. We're going to make decisions that are actually going to support the health of this company rather than, assuage my own ego or make me feel better or put more money in my pocket or something like that. That those are the teams that have the culture that makes people want to work there. So I was wondering if we could switch over to talking about your culture and what you do at Clear Height Properties, your secret sauce for the amazing culture that you have. And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the ways that you do that, because we do have a story about you in the rollout book around state of the company meetings that I think is really interesting. And you can certainly share that if you'd like to here, or something else around your culture. But you guys are so good at this. I'd love to hear from you on that.
When I think about the organization and building out culture, it's something that hasn't happened overnight, and it hasn't been something that has happened by accident. It's just something we have worked on constantly and refined and refined and refined. And like, if you think about our core values, which is always be amazing, change is part of the journey, do what you say, have fun and excitement every day, and make the next person successful. Like, those things have kind of been rooted in me as a kid, right? And I go back to what made my dad successful and his organization successful. And there's so much there that I got to watch through osmosis or just being in the room and seeing. I remember he would do, so my dad's probably, 5'8", 5'9", completely bald, big head, right? Good fatigue, really Italian, like, and he just carries himself incredibly well, and he can command a room. And I think I've latched onto that as a kid and still as an adult. And he would do these rah-rah, annual kind of things, right? And I have this incredible picture in my head. I'm sitting in the back of the conference room in his office, and he had just read this book. And I couldn't tell you the name of the book, and nor is it relevant. But he did a whole presentation on it. And so here he comes. There's music playing. He's got this long blonde wig. He's got a surfboard and a Hawaiian t-shirt on. And he comes stumbling into the office, into the conference room, and everyone's laughing and and he gives this presentation on this book, right? It was, something about customer service and doing all these things. And it was like, everyone left that meeting like, oh, this was great, right? Holy cow. And I remember years later, because I think I was in high school when that happened. And I remember in college asking, like, Dad, like, whatever happened to this? Like, however, you put so much effort into this thing. Like, do you guys still use this every day? And I can clearly remember him being like, no, it never got any traction. I tried using it, and we fell off of it and got busy and started doing something else. And like, holy cow, right? Like, as I latched onto EOS, that was something that was so important to me, right? I was like, gotta go in, gotta go through, if I continue to follow this playbook, it will take care of me and the organization. So then you fast forward to our quarterly state of the companies, our annual state of the companies, and like, holy crap, if I'm not emulating my father in some of these things, right? We go through, we have it as generally somewhere off site. Sometimes it's a building conference room. Sometimes it's, we go to, pinstripes or a bowling alley, or do something and create an event around it. And afterwards, we're celebrating, we're talking about the wins, and making sure we're having some sort of cohesion that helps build that culture, right? How we hire, recognize, reward, and fire. And so when these things get kicked off, it's not me standing up there. Actually, nowadays, it's not even me up there at all. It's the team that is actually running these quarterlies that's presenting, right? Here's our vision. Here's where we've been. Here's where we're going. Core value awards every single quarter. That's nominated quarterly by the leadership team, annually by their peers. And that annual piece of the peers voting for core value awards, that, Beth, is like the coolest thing in the entire world. Like hearing other people talk about their teammates in a really positive way. And we read them. Here's what we said. Here's who won, but here's the things they said about them. So that part's been really cool. But we kick off the meeting with some sort of inclusion exercise. We've gone as far as scavenger hunts. We are teaching the organization right now about financials, right? What's a P&L? What's a balance sheet? What's a cash flow statement? How do we make money? And so we've actually gone through and we're sharing all of this, and we've done like fill in the blank kind of exercises where people have to go through, and our team created the program, and now they're going through every quarter and figuring out how to like, ooh, did we actually make $2 million on that line item, or did we make $1? Like, and like they can see it. It's so they're usually 2 hours. Oh, here, this last quarter, which was a couple weeks ago. I didn't know this, but a woman on our team majored in theater, has taken ample amount of comedy classes and doing improv. So she taught improv to us after the class, or after our QSOC. It was the coolest thing I've ever done. And watching her perform in her own natural ability was like, done, right? That will be talked about for years to come. Like some of the things, which I won't repeat here, that were said, like awesome, absolutely freaking awesome. So, did I gather all of the QSOC stuff that you were hoping for?
You've got to make it your own and make it authentic. And I think you guys definitely do that. And so I wanted to hear your version of authentic to hopefully inspire other people to make it fun. Have fun and excitement at your quarterly state of the company, or any other opportunity, because that's what builds trust on teams. We'll return to my conversation with Dominic after a word from our sponsors. Do you love running on EOS? Try Strutty, the EOS platform people love. Native integrations and extra features help you manage people, projects, process, and engagement. Connected to your favorite EOS tools and all in one place. You love EOS. It's time to love the platform you're running it on. Try Strutty free at strutty.com. That's STRETY.com. Strutty, the EOS platform people love. Let's be honest, hiring the right people is hard. That's why I love Titus Talent Strategies. Their whole person hiring approach helps you find and keep A players who align with your values, and they back it with an industry-leading guarantee. Best part? Titus Talent Strategies is included in the entrepreneurial toolkit for companies running on EOS. Check them out at titustalent.com/EOS. And now, back to my conversation with Dominic. The question that I ask all of my guests on the podcast, which is the tattoo question. So this is where I ask my guests, if you were to get a tattoo that would remind you of either the thing you need to work on or what you want to be mindful of, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with what we just talked about, but just to learn who you are a little bit more on a deeper level, what would that tattoo be and where would it be located?
Where would it be located? It'd be somewhere hidden, but also appropriate for my mother to be like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a tattoo," so she wouldn't yell at me. But so probably like somewhere right inside the arm here, so that I could, wearing a t-shirt, she wouldn't be able to see it. Gosh, 42 years old, still afraid of my Italian mother. Let's see. I think I would say yes and then it would be dot dot dot. Yes and. And the more that phrase has sat with me throughout the years, it just allows for more abundance. It allows for more conversation, more clarity versus yes, but. And when it was yes, but, it was always like I needed to be right. And now a yes and is yes, and what else is there? What else can we be doing? What else can we be thinking about? That phrase, I would probably say, is what I would say is yes, and dot, dot, dot.
Well, it sounds like that improv training you got was very helpful because yeah, that's one of the main tenets of improv, right? Isn't it great how our employees can teach us things? It's amazing. And I'm not saying that's where it came from. It's been very popular amongst leadership teaching lately to say yes and, but I think that's a really great point. I love it. I think that's great for you. Well, Dominic, it's been amazing having you on this podcast. I had fun and excitement.
I'm honored to be here. Yeah. Thank you.
You definitely embody the core values of your company, and I love what you've done and how you've grown. And thank you so much for being here and being willing to share your vulnerable story. So many people will see themselves in that story, so I appreciate that.
And I appreciate, honestly, being here. This has been a lot of fun. And thank you for being our coach, being our advisor, being someone who's always been in our corner, cheering for us, and calling us on our crap. That has been incredibly amazing to myself and the organization. And watching your EOS journey and being a part of it has been awesome. So I know there's only more good to come for you.
All right. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Dom. Thanks to Dominic Sergi for sharing his story about how important it's been for his company to get the right people in the right seats and embrace an abundance mindset when building an intentional culture. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with friends who need to hear this. Thanks for listening to Bad Boss Confessional. We'll see you next week.